Well, good afternoon, Kyle. It's 12:05, which means it's good afternoon, right?
I guess, doesn't it depend on what time you got up, right? Like, you know, it might be afternoon, but if you just woke up, Matt, which, judging on your hairstyle, I think is a possible chance you did, then, you're still drinking coffee. Doesn't it feel like it should be still morning?
Kyle, aging, as it were, and having children has reset my clock. I couldn't sleep till noon now if I wanted to. Like, even if I was in like the quietest hotel room with everything shut, my body would awaken.
I hear you there. Yeah, there. If I make it past 7 a.m., it's a good day.
Perhaps, perhaps after World's Toughest, but that's a whole
Yeah,
different thing, right? You come home, you sleep some, your whole body is effed up,
for days, if not weeks
right?
afterward.
So I feel like this is the first time I've seen you in a while. We've spoken a bit, but I feel like this is the first time I think the last memory of seeing you is you feeding, weren't you feeding ghost peppers to racers or something horrible like that?
It's just, it was just sriracha. Let's not over dramatize.
But you understand what, if the legend is better than the story, you print the legend. So years from now, that's going to be the ghost pepper worlds.
Yeah, years from now, it will have evolved into Kyle was feeding like small pieces of nuclear waste to athletes as they cross the finish line.
Exactly. So I think we can go over some things that have been explained to
Nothing's
people.
happened since then. I don't know what you've been doing. Yeah, I took an extended vacation for the past 90 days or so. A nice winter of hibernation.
um, I know the real work begins now, but do you feel a weight lifted that's been there?
For sure. I mean, we've got a lot to do, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to be in a position where you're doing something that's working toward a goal and a path, right? And we never gave up hope. We never gave up the fight. But that was a long slog, and we were fighting an uphill battle there for a long time that didn't have a clear end game in sight. We knew where we were going, but we didn't know if it was going to be a week, a month, 2 months, as it turned out. But we got it done, and now we're on to the work that we love.
Yeah, the legal process moves slow, but I feel like we got the fastest version of this that we could have possibly had, correct? Because when the obstacles got out of the way, which for legal reasons I'm sure you don't want to talk about, or whatever reasons, right? When those things were removed, you know, a lot of things went our way that made it possible that, I'm listen, everyone knows I'm not a freaking homer, and I feel like this is the best outcome we could have had. I mean, listen, I don't even get my own mutter this year, Georgia, right? You
Yep.
guys always had it in the fall, you moved to the spring. I'm not going to have it, but I'm still thrilled that there's a schedule this year, including World's Toughest.
Yeah, look, and when you think about it, well, I mean, so let's take the American court system for a second. Like, if you think about it, we got a trustee appointed at the end of January and the sale done at the end of February, 4 weeks, realistically. Nothing happens in 4 weeks in the US court system ever. So that in and of itself is a testament to, one, how hard the Spartan team worked at making sure that their offer and their deal was airtight and took care of the most amount of people they could have taken care of going into the to the trustee. And hats off to the trustees team for working around the clock through the weekend for those 4 weeks to get that done. But yeah, as I made a post last night, uh, and obviously there's been lots of chatter among the community about people who are happy and people who are not happy, and everybody's having the full range of emotions and feelings about the situation. And look, all of those are valid, right? What happened at the end of last year and coming into the fall or coming into the wintertime here, it sucked, right? nobody would have picked that as the option on the checkbox list of like, well, let's see how this pans out. It was awful. But this is the best resolution that we could have had out of this process, right? And we've got a lot of work to do to put it back together. one of the reasons why we have the calendar that we do is we were trying to get an event, in at least every region or close to it. That didn't pan out in some places, right? Like the South, just didn't work out from a scheduling perspective. There are other pockets that that we couldn't get an event onto the calendar for in 2020, but we're simultaneously planning 2021 right now, and are going to start launching things like Atlanta and other venues, in the next couple of weeks and months, so that we're out a full year ahead of what the 2021 calendar looks like.
My own curiosity, Atlanta was February in the early days. They moved it to April, May in the next few years, I guess, to wait for it to be warmer, I'm guessing. And then it was in the fall, so it could be 2 weeks before Worlds. So was the purpose when you moved it back last year, well, it's not Worlds anymore, we can do it in a warmer time? Or
Yeah,
do you remember why you moved it back to the spring?
Yeah, so I mean, Atlanta always was a better event in the springtime. As it turns out, you folks who live in the South don't like doing things when it's cold outside.
Correct.
So the warm April, May events, were bigger. They did better. They drew more people. I think you guys came out of your southern or winter hibernation, once the temperatures got above 60 degrees and were willing to come and do things outside again. But so that was the goal, and that was always the plan. Was that Atlanta would be in the fall when it was around Worlds, and would push it back to the spring.
So this year, do you know off the top of your head or in a list in front of you what cities we're going to hit? You don't even have to get them in order. I won't force you to do that. But let's talk about.
I can be that good, Matt. Let's see what you got.
Okay, so so the first event is Virginia in May, and then what else do we have in 2020 that's absolutely going to happen in the US?
Yeah, so Virginia in May, new venue, same city as we were in last year, right? So if you remember last year, there was a little bit of a hullabaloo around the venue that we had that the county had asked us to use because it was a park that had some environmental protection restrictions around it. So we've moved to a new venue just down the road from that in the same place, much closer to DC, May 30th, kicking off the calendar there. And we're assuming that we're going to pull a lot of the people who had also been signed up for Philly or signed up for some of the other events that were driving distance of that will come to Virginia in May. And that started to play out as we've seen transfers come through today and late last week. Next event, Twin Cities, same venue we've always been at, relatively same weekend we've always been at, second weekend of July in Hugo, Minnesota, followed by potentially Colorado. So we're anticipating that Colorado is going to be a early August event, still pinning down final venue contract on the pieces there. We were close right before December happened, and we're just restarting and finalizing those conversations now. But hoping to be back in Colorado early August. Back to Chicago, the Rockford International Airport venue, which will also be a 10th anniversary and a toughest weekend, April 22nd, 23rd weekend, or sorry, August 22nd, 23rd. And then September right now, we're finalizing a couple pieces in the calendar, but you're going to have Tri-State, Seattle, and hopefully Toronto if Canadian process pans out right, all kind of clustered there in the middle of September. And then October, you've got Dallas, followed by Worlds in the first weekend of November, first full weekend of November, and then SoCal the weekend after that. And that'll be our 9 full Tough Mudder weekends plus Worlds and a Toughest this year.
What is the thinking behind putting a TBD, say, for Colorado and not one for Toronto? Why not just wait? Just because there's been so much stuff, why not just go, you know what, guys, I know we'd like ticket sales to go on sale, but let's just wait an extra week or two and then we confirm, hey, here's our schedule. Because we always tell people, don't sign up for an event that doesn't have a date or a venue, whether it's a new race or an old race. We're like, that's sketchy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people, right, who are going to go to the Colorado event regardless of what day it is.
Because they live there?
Because they live there, because it's their hometown event, because Jim Campbell's there.
I'm sorry.
It's just, Jim Campbell and Colorado are synonymous.
Okay.
But we put it up to one, let people know that it's coming, and that it's going to be there. And two, once the event is up, we can start to transfer, just from a system standpoint, we can transfer people into it. Yeah. So if we got somebody who was going to do Arizona, let's say, and then they wanted to transfer into Colorado, we can't do anything with their ticket unless we've actually created and launched the event. So because we put it up, yeah, I'm not expecting a ton of people are going to buy tickets when it says TBD on it. But because we've got it up, we can transfer people into it. We can do other things, from a systems point of the back end.
But Canada must not be as close, or you would have put that one up. That just must have a few more hoops.
No, it's not up because the Canadian process is still happening in court.
Oh, so got it.
Once that happens, the regular, and assuming everything goes as planned, the regular Toronto event will come back and just be reopened for registration.
Okay, so I'm going to go over people's options for tickets because I think after explaining it a few times, I think I have it, and you can correct me otherwise. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put this podcast up. I'm actually going to put up the visual, the audio. What do you call this? What are we looking using our eyes? I'm going to put that up too, the video, and I'm going to actually like put the screenshots of the
You keep doing this hand motion. You're making me seasick over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was putting my hand motion because I speak with my hands. So if I have a ticket to an event that is not going to happen, which is, if I can get this correct, in the beginning of the year, you would have done, I don't know, Atlanta, New Orleans, Los Angeles, not SoCal, but Los Angeles, and then a couple of others. What were the other ones?
Yeah, no New Orleans, but College Station was early in the year. Missouri was early in the year. So I think we were scheduled for 27 events, 27 events plus Worlds last year. And we're now doing 9 plus Worlds in North America.
If you have tickets to those 16 that aren't happening or whatever the math is, here are my options. I can transfer that to any Tough Mudder this year or next year.
Correct.
And 2 Spartan passes, open wave, so not elite, not age group, any distance.
Yep.
This year or next year.
Correct.
Okay, that's step 1. That's a pretty good deal. Okay. Now it gets trickier, right, around the packages. Okay.
Yes.
So can you briefly go over how many different? I mean, I know there's a Holy Grail, and then how many other packages do you have?
Well, so let's start with open tickets, for a second.
Oh yeah, so what is an open ticket? Because that confused me with the open wave from Spartan. What is an open TM ticket?
So an open TM ticket's essentially like a gift card. You're buying a ticket that can be used for any 5K. Let's say if you buy the 5K open ticket, you can redeem it for any Tough Mudder 5K. On the North American calendar, or if you buy a classic open ticket, you can redeem it for any ticket on the. We only sell them for a limited period of time. Usually, somewhat before the calendar launches. So again, for people who know that they're going to run a couple of Tough Mudders but haven't, finalized their schedule, they might buy a couple open tickets because they're a good deal and they can use them down the road.
So an open ticket is if you already applied it to one of those previous events, it's the same thing, or is it not the same thing?
Yeah, if you already applied it to one of those previous events, it's essentially the same thing. But there are people who have purchased the open ticket who haven't applied it to anything yet.
And what can they do?
So if they've got the open ticket and they haven't redeemed it yet, they can redeem it for any 2020 event that's still on the calendar, or we'll roll those over to 2021. And they can use them next year for any event in their category or class as well. And they will also get the 2 free Spartan Open tickets.
Okay. So what's next?
Well, so there's a number of different what we call bundles and packages, right? So you could have had the Holy Grail Pass, which gives you a tougher, a toughest, and Worlds. We had a couple of Worlds bundles, right, where you could have gotten Worlds plus a season pass, or Worlds plus a toughest, and a few different ones. So essentially, because we're still hosting Worlds this year, your Worlds usage on any of those passes has to be used this year in 2020. But for the other uses on those passes, we'll honor them in 2020 or 2021. And then you'll get the Spartan offer as well, if they were individual events.
However, if I'm going to receive the physical Holy Grail, I guess I won't get it on either year, or are you going to sort of do some sort of weird thing with that?
haven't quite figured that out yet, and we're day 4 here, and the Holy Grail situation is down the road. Look, there's still be people that'll be able to make the Holy Grail from doing toughest and worlds this year, and I think there will be a population. Look, there's right now several hundred, I think close to 400 or 500 people already signed up for toughest Chicago, and that number is only going to grow as we continue to get closer to it.
Can I do Europe as well?
Yeah, Europe counts for the Holy Grail.
But I'm saying if I had what were the other toughest? What were the other toughest this year in America?
It was going to be LA and Philly are the 2 that are not happening.
Okay, so if I was going to do Philly toughest, that's a big one. A lot of people are signed up for. I can do Chicago.
Yep.
Or London, I guess. Midlands or whatever.
Midlands or Australia.
Okay, not that that's convenient for people, but I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah,
okay,
so there are still options and ways to get it, right? So I don't think we're going to take the Holy Grail away this year, right? There will still be plenty of people who will earn their Holy Grail, and earning the 2020 Holy Grail will probably come with its own unique badge of honor, right? Because you'll be doing something that wasn't necessarily easy to do, harder than it has been in the past.
Okay.
But we're working on all sorts of amendments and exceptions to rules and policies and contender status and Holy Grail and all those other things, based on the impact of the abbreviated schedule. And look, part of the reason why we're not rushing into an answer on that stuff is that we want to see community feedback on it. And I read everything. I digest comments and posts and all that kind of stuff. So we're open to ideas. Share your feedback.
All right. So what's next on the package plan? What have we not covered? Season pass, or is there other stuff?
Well, so the big one is season passes, right? So if you had purchased a season pass, for 2020 already, this year, we purchased it in 2019 for the 2020 season, you will be able to use that pass for 2020 and 2021, as well as getting the Spartan Open Pass for 2020 and 2021. So hands down, best deal in OCR, right? You essentially get 2 years of racing in both Tough Mudder and Spartan for your 2020 Tough Mudder Pass. We will be launching a new season pass, though. We've got a lot of requests for it in the last couple of days. It'll be a lower price than the old one had initially been, given the abbreviated schedule. But if people still want a Tough Mudder Pass, it'll just be good for 2020 events.
And it will not have a Spartan bonus.
Correct. Yeah. Any new tickets being sold, from last week onwards will not have the Spartan bonus attached to them.
And for people out there who are very upset and say, I don't want any of those things, I just want my money back, you can go to your credit card. This has been proven since 2011, and say, I paid for a service, I didn't get it, and they will refund your money. I know that's not your department, but I'm just letting people know that's how it works.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it varies somewhat credit card by credit card provider, right?
So there's maybe a time delay on it kind of thing?
There's rules, there's proof. And at the end of the day, our goal was to give people as good of a resolution as we possibly could. So that
right, but of course you're going to have people who are upset and say that's not what I want, that's not what I paid for, and I understand that. So I'm giving them a third option or a fifth option or whatever it is. I know those are the minority, but again, I acknowledge that they exist.
Yeah, and look, those people's frustration and feelings like that are certainly valid, but our goal is certainly to keep them in Tough Mudder, in Spartan. We're giving them a ton of options and a lot of perks to be able to keep this moving in the right direction.
Okay, the other question is, how different will my experience be as a Tough Mudder participant?
Well, that's a general and broad question. I mean,
with new ownership, will my experience be any different?
I certainly don't think so. I mean, if anything, it's only going to get better, right? But I think largely in 2020, people should expect to see exactly what they got in 2019, with a lot of the improvements that we were already planning on. So we were, planning upgrades to the festival. We had new obstacles coming out on course. We're obviously still kind of in rebuilding mode here, and we got to see how much of that we're going to be able to get up and running again for the first part of the season. Things will continue to kind of roll out as we go along, but it's the same team delivering the same events, the same obstacles and everything that people have come to know and love about Tough Mudder, just under new ownership.
So you had planned a couple of 10-year anniversary brouhahas. I believe they were Tri-State, Chicago, and something else.
Tri-State, Chicago. I think LA was supposed to be the first one.
Right. So Virginia, which is the first event on the calendar, is not one of these special brouhahas.
Correct.
but Tri-State, which is a legendary event, legendary location, and Chicago will have what? What can we expect? I'm sure there'll be some surprises, but what can we expect if I want to go to one of those events?
Sure. Surprises for sure. 10th anniversary, you might see some old signature obstacles, from the archives pop up. We're going to have 10th anniversary headbands. There'll be a bunch of festivities that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks there. But the short answer there is stay tuned for updates on that one. Chicago in particular, a big weekend, right? We've got Toughest. It'll be the only Toughest of the calendar, so expecting a big turnout for that. It's a great. Have you run that venue before, Matt? Have you been to that?
I have not. I have not been to that one.
It's a great venue. Like it's deceiving because you pull up to it. It's a giant airport, piece of property, and Amazon's moved in there, so there's Amazon jets landing over your head every 5 minutes. But you get out onto the backside of that property, and there is a swamp there that just destroys people. We had people almost lost humans in that swamp last year.
So you're saying that your race, unlike say a marathon where people run on the street, you take people through a swamp.
Oh, I believe we call it the Swamp Stomp. Yeah.
The Swamp Stomp, that's the name of the obstacle?
We get a lot of flack for calling it an obstacle.
No, I think nature's obstacles are part of it. A good company takes man-made, nature-made, and venue-specific obstacles, right? That's to me the kind of, what do you call it? The trifecta, the threefer of what you want to work with. Right?
Oh, trifecta is a trademark term.
I know you can't ever use that word again. But you know what I'm saying? Like certain things only happen at a certain venue, and you're like, oh well, look, there's a fence here. Let's make people go over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Podcast for another day, but it's so much of the nuance of what the difference between good and great course design is, right? And how you use natural features, even where you put the obstacles. Do you put an obstacle where you get somebody wet and muddy right before you are going to put them on a long run through a wide open field with no shade, right? And all the kind of nuances that go into it make such a huge difference in whether people have an okay experience or a really phenomenal experience. But Chicago was a great event last year, and with Toughest coming back for this year, I'm pretty excited about it.
What else do we want people to know, Kyle? Or do you want people to know?
We're back. We're back. We're moving. U.S. team moves into a new office with the Spartan New York team this week. I guess my requests to your listeners and to the community are be patient with us, right? We got a lot of things to figure out, a lot of things to put back together. It's going to take some time, but we want to hear the feedback. We want to hear the questions. We're updating the FAQ doc that we sent out last week and posted it in live time because new questions pop up every day that we haven't thought of. And we want to make sure that we're getting information out there as transparently as possible. But we've got a great season planned. We've got a great season in the UK planned as well. So if anybody was waiting to make their trip over, you're definitely going to want to be there for the Unholy Grail weekend in middle of June at Midlands. Or kind of a new thing that we're trying, but it'll be quite the challenge for those that are looking to step up what many in the community have previously done on a Toughest weekend. This will be a whole new level to that. So
which is what a 5K tougher and then toughest
and a classic.
And so is that 4 things?
4 things. All four race formats that are offered that weekend.
Wait a minute, I might have to. So I don't know if you heard breaking news. I'm going to that event.
I heard. Yeah.
So you do.
They can let you into the UK.
What's that?
Are they going to let you into the UK?
I have no previous. I haven't been there since 2003, and I have no crimes, I think, in either country that would prevent me. So you do the 5K in the morning. Sorry, you do the tougher in the morning. You didn't nod your head to say yes for audio listeners. Tougher in the morning, and then run full or 5K in either order, right? And then come back at night and do the toughest.
There may be some more parameters around this. So we haven't completely finalized the format yet. It'll certainly be the tougher Saturday morning and the toughest Saturday night. We may offer 5K Friday night, TBD.
Oh, TBD. Dude, well, I might have to just swing a lap or two at toughest at night and get this because this is super rare.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
It's a phenomenal course too. That venue is hands down probably one of the best venues that we have around the world.
It's the Unholy Grail.
Yeah. And
That's how I'm going to speak all weekend, and English people are going to hate me.
yeah. I mean, you don't think they already hate you?
Kyle, what's going on?
I think you found a newfound celebrity. You probably garnered more UK listeners in the last few months than you collectively had over the years.
It's very possible. Because obviously we had some listeners over there. I'll give a shout out to Ian K, who came on the program and helped me explain some things over there with their court system, which clearly works faster than ours. But like, they get their whole schedule, right? They didn't really skip a beat there, right? They get their whole 2020 schedule.
They were also only really out of commission for a couple weeks.
Right. All right.
They were out about 4 weeks, and most of it was over the Christmas, New Year's holiday.
I just thought of another question that might be a stay tuned. It's only day 4, but I do remember there was a big thing about, hey, no more deals, like straight pricing. Are we gonna have to wait till next year for that to kind of do its thing?
No, look, that's still the goal, right? And it was transparent pricing. It was us being able to be forthcoming about, here's what the prices are, here's when they're going to rise. We're not making the prices artificially higher so that we can then give discounts and bring them back down again. We're largely going to stick to that. Now, we might run just as we had at Black Friday and other things, so we have the occasional promo or special, but it will be a truly it'll be a special or a sale. It's not going to be like, hey, every time you go to the Tough Mudder website, there's a different promo code or a different sale running. And a lot of people have asked, like, well, why are you keeping the March 12th price increase? Now you've just turned ticket sales back on. It's because that was one of the first price increases that was scheduled all throughout the season. And if you were going to buy back in January, or you're going to buy in March, you were going to buy it and go ahead and commit your ticket and get that done now. But on the event pages, you can now see when all the price increases are scheduled for. And in most cases, they're jumping up in relatively small increments. So $10 or $15, not $20 or $30 at that point.
Okay. Well, I believe that's all my questions for now.
Well, you know where to find me now, and we'll certainly have more updates and news coming in the next couple of weeks as we start to confirm Colorado and other final things. Hopefully, we'll have good news about Canada in the next couple of weeks, and a lot of exciting announcements for the 2020 season to come.